You're listening to the Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson podcast. You're listening to the Blaze Radio Network. Warning. The following program has been cited for its copious inclusion of the word freedom, and therefore has been deemed a concern. Listening may subject you to additional scrutiny by the IRS, DNC, TSA, NSA, PBS, IRS, NPS, RNC, GAO, DOJ, EPA, NASA, CIA.
This is the sound of common sense defending freedom. The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
Live from the capital of the 44th state admitted to the Union, the Sunflower State. The state that produces more wheat than any other. America's breadbasket. Kansas. Ladies and gentlemen, Skip and I are coming to you today from Topeka, Kansas. We've been on our countdown to the midterm elections tour. It has been absolutely fantastic getting time to spend time with some of the people of the wind. This is an amazing and
the people.
The people of the wind. That's what Kansas means. People of the wind.
People of the wind.
People of the wind.
I did not know that. See, you learn something new every day.
You don't really. They're sneaking up on you all the time. They're like the wind. They come and go.
Very quiet.
Last night, Skip and I spoke at a gathering of the 912 Topeka group, Topeka 912, and I had to chastise him at first. Kathleen Gilligan Sebelius, the Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah.
President Obama's mom. Ooh. You guys aren't doing well here. And then Skip and I went to Bobo's.
Oh, my goodness.
We got a burger here at Bobo's in Topeka, and we're just going to call all that even.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kathleen Gilligan Sebelius, the Westboro Baptist Church, President Obama's mom, on one hand. The other hand,
I
Bobo's.
give you a pass. There's Bobo's. Bobo's too good.
Bobo's is too good. I think Bobo's may balance out all of that bad that they've put upon the world.
Now, if you've listened to the show for any period of time, you know that Doc and I are a bit of burger snobs. We've had a couple of really good burgers around the country. We've let you know where you can find good burgers around the country.
Bobo's.
This burger is as good as any of the burgers we have told you about.
Sensational. Yeah, there were some other important things going on as well, but Bobo's was really high on our list.
You know what the secret is?
What's that?
Velveeta cheese.
Oh, now you give it away. Everyone's going to be making them at home.
I'm just saying I'm letting the cat out of the bag a bit.
All right, so yeah, we did get a chance to sample some of the local fare and then hang out with some of the people. Really good time. Turnout last night was sensational.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could see some of the pictures on Twitter. Just go to @DocThompsonShow or @SkipLacombe, @DocThompsonShow or @SkipLacombe, and you could see some of the pictures for yourself. We're tweeting those out. We'll eventually have some more footage of the tour up at DocThompson.com probably later today. There's some yesterday in Oklahoma. We roll on after we leave here today. We'll go straight up the highway to Omaha, Nebraska, and then to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and then over to Minneapolis area for two events in Minnesota. Then we start our southern leg of the tour next week. But all the details are at DocThompson.com. Please join us. The people have not been disappointed. It's been a fantastic time sharing some of the great things about the local areas, some of the stuff that works. We had an opportunity to hear the Secretary of State of Kansas, Chris Kobach, speak last night. He was sensational.
You may remember his name actually too. He has been in the news before. He's been on the
He's
Glenn
been on
Beck
with Glenn.
program.
Yeah. He was on with Glenn when a bunch of the illegals ended up showing up at his house and harassing him and his family, or trying to, or whatever. Really interesting stuff, and we'll talk to him a little bit later on today. All right, we got to move on to some of the things happening. Finally, there has been a clarification from President Obama. President Obama has given a clarification on some of the stuff that people like Skip have been giving him the business on. Skip has been giving him the business on him supposedly lying about being able to keep your health care. So he has a clarification. Now, before we get to the clarification from yesterday, before we get to that, I want to remind you of some of the things that he said that people like Skip have been giving him the business on. This is a collage of President Obama over the course of a few years explaining how Obamacare would work. This is prior to the implementation of the website. saying that if you want your health care, you can keep it. So here is a collage.
I said this once or twice, but it bears repeating. You can keep your plan if you are satisfied with it. If you like the plan you have, you can keep it. If you like your plan and you like your doctor, you won't have to do a thing. You keep your plan. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan. If you've got health insurance, you can keep it. If you like your health care plan, you will keep your plan. If you've got health insurance, you like your doctor, you like your plan, you can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan. We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you'll be able to keep your health care plan, period.
Period, yes.
Now, there's been some people like Skip who have been really critical of the president for saying, hey, he lied. That's not true.
Yes. That is exactly. I have been, because that's not true. There's people who are losing their insurance, period.
See, this is a man who is just trying to help people. This is a president who says, I just want people to have health insurance, and he sets up this wonderful system. You have it, you can keep the plan if you like it, and the doctor, period. So he's made you know what, I'm not going to defend him. I'm going to go ahead and let him explain what happened, and I think you'll understand it. This is a clip from President Obama yesterday explaining why people like Skip are wrong when they claim he lied. Listen to this.
Existing condition. Now, if you have or had one of these plans before the Affordable Care Act came into law, and you really liked that plan, what we said was you could keep it if it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
Wait, hold on.
There it is, Skip.
Wait,
He explained the whole thing right there.
No, you could keep it, period. There was a period there.
In the first ones, yes.
No, what does a period indicate at the end of a sentence?
A slight pause.
No, I gave you a hint there. I gave you a hint there.
Yeah.
What does a period indicate at the end of a sentence?
That something you've given some information and some more will be coming.
Hold on. I'm giving you a big hint with that. What does a period mean at the end of a sentence?
That there was a sentence possible. Let me, Cal, let me hear that clarification from the president again. This is from yesterday where he clarifies the whole thing.
Now, if you have or had one of these plans before the Affordable Care Act came into law, and you really liked that plan, what we said was you could keep it.
There it is. You can keep it right there.
If it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
No, there's a period.
No, there was a period in the other one.
Well, that's what you were saying before, is if you like it, you could keep it, period.
You know what you did? There was some selective editing of all of those other ones, the collage.
It's obviously the president just misspoke a little bit. I think he confused period with semicolon. He should have said, you can keep your plan, semicolon.
And what is part of a semicolon? There's a period there. And
now
you
you're
need to make that mistake.
Ridiculous.
It's very easy. It's very easy.
Cal, could we hear a little bit of the collage, the original collage where he said that? Because I think there was some selective editing where possibly he was going to pause and then say if after some of those. So listen to this, Cal. Listen to this. I think that's
you
what
can
was
keep
coming.
your plan if you are satisfied with it. If you like the plan you have, you can keep it. If you like your plan and you like your doctor, you won't have to do a thing. You keep your plan. If you like your health care plan,
if you like it,
you'll be able to keep your health care plan. If you've got health insurance, you can keep it. You like your health care plan, you will keep your plan. If you've got health insurance, you like your doctor, you like your plan, you can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan. We will keep this promise to the American people.
It's a promise.
If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
Do you realize all of those started with if? He said if. He qualified it at the beginning.
Period.
If you like it, you can keep it, see?
But there were periods there, too. There's also a period. Let me help you.
He said if you like it. See, he qualified it at the beginning. If you like it.
Let me see. If you put a period at the end of the sentence, that signifies the end of the sentence.
And possibly the beginning of a new one, Skip.
Perhaps.
It's the end of one sentence, but then the beginning of a new sentence. The dawn of a new sentence, giving new information.
I gotta say, I'm a little concerned about you, Doc. I think Bobo's has changed you.
No, the president is clearly talking out of his ass. Just so you know.
Oh, okay.
There was a little bit of sarcasm going on there, folks, just a touch. I hope you're getting it because I'm laying it on pretty thick. Of course he meant period. He said period. If you like it, you can keep it. But then yesterday, and Cal, I'm going to need to hear yesterday's one more time because I want you to hear the pause he gives. He's like, what we said is you could keep it. If you could. Listen again. Listen. Play this.
And you really like that plan?
Yes.
What we said was you could keep it. If it hasn't changed since the law passed.
You know, I want you to take a second. When you hear that pause, in fact, we may have to just listen to that pause a few times. I want you to think, what's the president saying? Use your Doc Thompson patented president mind reader tool 3000. What is the president saying during that slight little pause?
That pause.
Set that back up one more time.
He's
Cal.
like, how do I lob this out there?
What we said was
You could keep it. If it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
I guess you could. Oh crap!
He's trying to dig himself out. What we said was you could keep it. With some addendums, some adjustments, some slight tweaks to it, with some additional information. If possibly the planets are aligned the correct way, certain things were to happen, and possibly you'd be able to. All of that coming after it. How do you do that? The president. Listen. I said last week the president is a liar. I called him that. And I'm going to have to update that now as well.
To what?
The president is a liar, and the president knows he's a liar. There is no question about that. The New York Times had an editorial. It was over the weekend about this whole thing. And they touched on this so-called lie. They only touched on it. They were going in a different direction with the whole Obamacare website and Obamacare whatever. But they touched on that lie when they just kind of casually said President Obama misspoke. They used the word misspoke
400 times.
You know, I would think a newspaper with a storied history like the New York Times, a newspaper that has hired a staff of journalists who are smarter than you and I, a staff of journalists with a storied history like the New York Times, who's better than the rest of the world, who's better than the people of the wind in middle America. They're storied. I would think that they would understand you want to use the most appropriate word, number one, and number two, the shortest word that applies. So let me help you out, New York Times editorial staff. There's another word you could have used in place of misspoke.
What do you?
Another word
instead of misspoke.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if you know New York Times is famous for their crossword puzzles.
Oh yes.
So let me give you here. Okay.
You have
four across.
Okay.
4 letters.
Okay.
The definition is misspoke.
Okay.
Go down. First letter is L.
Okay. L.
Space.
L.
E. And D. New York Times.
It's lied.
Yes.
The president lied.
This is the Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson. Streaming stimulation that is safe for work. Only on the Blaze Radio Network. Mercury. Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
All right, we're taking your calls, 888-900-3393, or tweets at Doc Thompson Show or at Skip Lacombe. We're coming to you live from Topeka, Kansas this morning on our countdown to the midterm elections tour.
What have you learned today? J. Cole's already learned. Skip's bag out of... Jeez, I already messed that up. Skip's bag of cats always sounds kind of sickly. That cat out of the bag. It's a little...
I learned something too, guys.
Yeah, what's that?
I learned that the president's definition of the word period basically means everything I just said, complete BS. It negates everything. Like, guys, when you come to New York next time, I'm buying lunch, period.
Oh.
Which really means I'm not buying lunch.
Oh, I see. Everything
Okay.
prior to this isn't real.
Everything prior to the word
Period.
means everything that was just said is completely opposite. It's like opposite day.
Oh, I see. Boy, that's a very effective tool, Cal.
No, you're right.
So you can
Comes in
say,
handy.
listen, guys, I'm going to take you out. I'm buying drinks all night long. Period.
Okay.
That is very effective. Skip, I am so happy to have you here with me today, to be on the air with me each and every day, period.
Stop. Well,
See that? You just put that
man.
right in there.
I gotta say, dude, the show has really, really improved since we've had Cal in New York running the show. I mean, period.
Ooh, that's a little insulting there. Cal, you should tweet that out, by the way. And you're at Cal79, right?
Yes, at Cal79. Period. No,
Oh,
that's actually true. Just kidding.
No, that actually. So now you're going to confuse people. Oh, we also had Johnny Mac chime in and use that hashtag what I learned today. Obama sentences all have a silent maybe. A silent maybe in there. If you like it, you can keep it. Maybe.
Well, I don't care what president is, what politician, governor, senator. When they throw this stuff out, imagine having to. This is really the equivalent of Bill Clinton with "I did not have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky."
No, this is depends on what your definition of is.
Yeah, imagine.
Well, no, what we said is no, that's not what you said, Mr. President.
Yeah,
you
you're
went out
right.
and said 400 times something completely different. What we said is, like, if there was no if in any of it.
Look, this is why the Patriot groups, the 912s, like Topeka 912 that we were with last night, the Tea Party groups, this is why they are so important. This is why we are so important. Because no longer are we going to put up with this nonsense, and we're not going to put it up with it from politicians that we like or like more than others. It doesn't matter if you're somebody that I passionately have supported, that 99.99% of the time I'm with you on an issue. If you misspeak, as the New York Times would put it if you're a progressive, I am no longer with you, or I'm at least going to hold your feet to the fire on that. I'm going to call you out on that stuff. This is nonsense. I'm not going to let you float this by. You lied, and you did it for what purpose? You did it to mislead people, and that's the worst part. The president did this. This is not a misspeak where you said, oh, it's 14%. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I remembered wrong. It's actually 15% or whatever. That's a misspeak. To get tongue-tied, that's a misspeak. When you say something wrong with the purpose of misleading, that is clearly a lie. And the president clearly was misspeaking all of those times to try to influence you, to mislead you into supporting something that is horrible. And you know what? Even if you support Obamacare, even if you're the big progressive out there, I challenge you. I challenge you to stand up and say, Doc, you're right, and that is wrong. Call him out. Hold his feet to the fire. This is the person you love and support so much, somebody that would clearly do the wrong thing. And even if you think he did it for the right reasons because Obamacare is so spectacular, so you're telling me your beliefs are the ends justify the means? I don't believe that, and America doesn't believe that. And if you believe that, get the hell out and move to some communist country.
You're listening to The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
On the Blaze Radio Network. Mercury.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
All right, so the president, one more, the president's speech yesterday. The president also clarified his comments in the past about Obamacare and the failures of the website. He specifically talked about the failures of the website and said, listen, yes, that's a problem. However, there are other ways you can still sign up for Obamacare. You could go in person.
You could go in person. Yes, there's also that 800 number.
A telephone number. You
can go and call them.
I'm pretty sure that you can also use the telegraph.
They are still accepting fax applications.
Facsimiles?
Facsimile.
Excellent. I didn't realize that. I wonder if carrier pigeon is still an option.
I believe so. Well, they enacted it. In fact, there was actually some breaking news yesterday. I don't know if you saw this.
No, I didn't.
They actually brought back the Navajo code talkers.
To secure your information?
Just to make sure, that way it's secure.
So you don't want anybody getting the information, for Pete's sake. I think the Pony Express will ride again now.
Oh, no, well. Yeah, that is confirmed as well. Smoke signals are now being accepted.
Wait a minute. So President Obama, the progressive, who doesn't want anything to do with history. We've always got to move forward. Forget all of that history and what matters and values. You can't stop progress. A guy who got elected with technology, and he has the BlackBerry, right? The smartphone. He takes everywhere. Wouldn't give it up.
The first president to be allowed to have a personal cell phone because he wouldn't give it up.
Right. The guy who's on the cutting edge of technology. All of this. The guy who is so green, he wants us to change our lives across the board to save the planet, is telling you, don't use current technology. Instead, get in your car, your fossil fuel burning non-green car, and drive to a place to sign up for this. They have nothing, folks. If you are not enjoying this, then you are not paying attention. For 5 years, well, 4 years, 4 years, I have put up with nonsense from this administration. I have put up with nonsense from the MSNBC people, the progressives out there, tweeting and texting and news stories about saying, Doug, it's not going to be that bad. You don't understand. Obamacare is going to be wonderful. Just you wait and see. Years I've been dealing with this, saying you're just a racist, you're insensitive, you're hateful. All of this when I have tried to lay out common sense, obvious flaws in this whole thing. And they roll it out and it's womp, womp, womp. Laugh at them. Because although this is still affecting us and it's costing us money and it's a debacle, I mean, this is hurting us, even me and you. At least it's finally hurting those people.
There has not been a time in this president's administration when he has had more egg on his face. He has never looked weaker as a president as he has over the past, 3 months. I mean, looking back to Syria is when everything kind of started to crack with this president, and he has looked weak. He has had his tail between his legs this past 3 months.
He is positively impotent in this. He really is. He stifled. He got up there and said, what we said was, is you could keep your insurance. If
there
you could.
Certain qualifications that.
And don't get too caught up in that website thing, because there's still other ways you could sign up. You can drive there. You could call them. Those are still possibilities for you. They are so scrambling. And this is one of the things Skip and I have touched on the last couple of days as we've been on our tour, is that now more than ever you need to stay engaged and take some joy in the fact that this stuff is failing. Not because you want America to fail, you want bad things to happen to people, because your ideas are the right idea. You want them to fail so the right ideas can be put in place and acted on, those strong values. And we would not be anywhere near this. The ability to highlight the failures of Obamacare, the NSA, the IRS scandals, Fast and Furious, Benghazi, wouldn't be anywhere near any of those if you and I had not been engaged. If the Tea Party, the Patriot groups, the 912s out there had not been engaged, this stuff wouldn't be happening.
Absolutely. Someone just pointed out something very, very smart I hadn't even thought of before. Is there a chance that the failure of the ACA website is to prop up the USPS? Getting mail back out there, that's what Johnny said.
That seems like a little bit of a stretch.
It's possible, all these people flooding the USPS to sign up for Obamacare.
That seems like a long way to go. I don't think they're willing to hurt their image as much. I mean, you got to know, folks, this is hurting them in ways we cannot even imagine. Remember, this is not the transparent administration they told us it would be. It is so closed and tight-knit. They keep a handle on all of this stuff. They rule with an iron fist when it comes to information. That's the reason they hate Snowden so much. They keep control of this stuff. If you and I are getting this information, it is just the tip of the iceberg. It is only the smallest amount that is actually coming out. Behind the scenes, they are freaking out, and we have no clue how bad it is. So I don't think, Skip, they'd be willing to hurt their image as much as it's been hurt just to prop up the U.S. Post Office. It's possible. It wouldn't be a bad idea if they said something. If they had said, listen, you go on the website and sign up for Obamacare, something, but we're also going to need you to buy a stamp and mail something as part of the process, because then you would potentially, really pop up the post office. I mean, that's 6 extra stamps they sell, right?
I see what you did there.
See, that's the other reason the post office, probably this isn't meant to prop them up, because nobody's up for this stuff. If you thought you were going to get 7 million stamps purchased when people mail the stuff in.
Serious. I mean, what's a stamp now, like $30, $40?
No, that's like 44, 45 cents, something like that. Yeah, it's not quite that much. If he came out now and said, and maybe this would be smart, listen, we want you to mail something in and buy a stamp or whatever, yeah, it's possible. But they would have to be so expensive. Maybe initially they thought the 7 million was going to happen, that 7 million extra stamps. All right, that's, a few $1 million they'd likely end up being able to put on the books. Still not going to save the billions that they hemorrhage every year, but it helps. No, I don't think that's a part of it. It's I wouldn't put it past them in a lot of ways to have stuff like that, calculated things they're working on, but that one doesn't seem legit to me. Are you ready for Spears the Musical?
Spears?
Spears the Musical.
What is that?
It is a new musical that's coming out. I'm going to tell you about it coming up, but I want to get some of your calls first and also some of your tweets. 888-900-3393, 888-900-3393, or tweet at Doc Thompson Show or at Skip Lacombe. Do you have any tweets right now?
We just had a Johnny chiming in, too. Obama couldn't have more egg on his face if he was Humpty Dumpty.
That's probably true. All right, let me get some calls here again. 888-900-3393, 888-900-3393. I'm going to go to, wait a minute, I just locked up. Oh, there we go. Dan in Connecticut, how are you?
Hey, good, and yourself?
Doing well, sir.
Very good. You touched upon this yesterday, but I think you should put more focus on it. Is the fact that it's not Obama's fault; it's the teleprompters. I just had a visual of the teleprompter in front of the House committee, trying to answer questions.
Yeah, you're right, Dan. What he could have said is, what we said is, you can keep your health care. The teleprompter is what said it. The rest of us said you couldn't.
Exactly. It's not his fault. It's just like everything. Sibelius or whatever, and it's the teleprompter's fault. And I think we should not lose focus of that.
You know what, Dan? I think it's only appropriate that we fire the teleprompter during the next election. We just call him out. We call him like it is. Dan, thanks so much for the call. Last night, Skip and I, we, of course, talked about healthcare, the great crowd here in Topeka at the Topeka Zoo, and we talked about Kathleen Gilligan Sebelius. And I asked the crowd, I'm like, you recognize where she's from and why we call her Kathleen Gilligan Sebelius? Because that's her maiden name. She's a Gilligan. Her father was a Gilligan. Her father was the governor of Ohio and longtime congressman from Ohio, dirtbag as well. But I say this. We make sure to hyphenate her name all the time. Kathleen Gilligan Sebelius.
I think it's only fair.
Listen, she is a progressive woman, and we know how much they want to have their name hyphenated, right?
That's
big. The feminist Nazis
want
out there.
Their own identity there,
So we make sure to call them out every time. And there were a couple of times after we said this, and people were on stage and referred to as Kathleen Sebelius.
We had to correct them.
And we finally got them by the end of the night. So make sure to use that Kathleen Gilligan Sebelius. All right, let's go to Minnesota now. Jim, how are you?
Fine. How you doing, Doc?
Doing well, sir.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you here at the end of the week in Chanhassen.
Oh, excellent. Thanks so much. Yeah, we'll be there. More details at docthompson.com.
Oh, yeah, I've been putting it out to all my friends. Definitely show up. We're going to definitely crowd that place.
Well, make sure to stop up and say hi to us, too, because we'll be there a little bit early and hang out afterwards. We're not going to Herman Cain anybody. We'll be there for a long time.
Really? You're going back to the Herman Cain?
Herman Cain does.
You are never going to get over this, are you?
I'm not going to go into more detail. We'll explain it when we're out there. But yes, sir, Jim,
yeah.
what can we do for you?
But I just want to let you know, too, that I'm the captain of the Minnesota T team under Wild Bill Finley.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get things stirred up, especially with, I don't know if you heard about our wonderful Senator, Al Franken, is now going to mandate that children in kindergarten learn about the joys of homosexuality.
Wow, that seems really something that shouldn't even be on the radar screen.
I mean, he's not going to do that personally, is he?
No, I heard he was passing the law. I don't have the exact details.
Oh, okay.
Because Al Franken teaching kids about homosexuality could go very, very dark, very quick.
That's a much bigger story.
Yeah, I agree. So, like I said, I'm going to get the exact story and put it on your page. But Wild Bill was talking to me about the other night.
Jim, please do send the story out to us. Tweet at Doc Thompson Show, or go ahead and post it on Facebook, and we'll grab the information. But Jim, thanks so much, and we hope to see you at the end of the week. I mean, would you put it past Al? I'm just saying.
No, I wouldn't. That's why I asked.
He's a little bit creepy out there.
A little bit creepy?
He's a lot creepy.
Al Franken?
He's a lot, very, very.
What
creepy.
a freaky man he is.
By the way, today is election day in parts of America. We've got two significant gubernatorial races. We've got Virginia and New Jersey. There are people getting up and going to the polls right now for votes. This is really, really an interesting race. Odds are Chris Christie will get reelected in New Jersey, and that will be kind of historic. It doesn't happen a whole lot for, I was going to say for conservatives, but Republicans, but, well, we know that's not the truth. Chris Christie, the reason he's getting elected is because he's not a conservative. I mean, that's the thing. I see the headlines. They're like, historic and Republican. I'm like, guys, it's only historic if it's somebody who is not just like everybody else.
Who actually is a conservative.
Right. He has an R versus a D. That's a minor detail. If he acts just like everybody else, then it's not historic. If you got somebody acting different, that's historic. So that's probably going to happen in New Jersey. In Virginia, I don't know. I met Ken Cuccinelli for the first time years ago, and the first time I met Ken Cuccinelli, it was at the Clock Tower in Richmond, Virginia, right outside the Capitol. It's a meeting area where a lot of groups get together, and the Virginia Citizens Defense League, a great gun advocacy and pro-Second Amendment group headed up by Phil Van Cleve, a buddy of mine, always meets down there for Lobby Day in January, and they do a tremendous job. They invited me down to speak, which I did, and Ken Cuccinelli was there as well. And he was a state senator at the time. And I thought, wow, this guy is really sharp. Ken doesn't screw around. I mean, he just, boom, he lays it out there. He comes at you with stuff. And here, I'm like, wow, here's a guy from northern part of Virginia in a district that is not as, quote-unquote conservative parts of Virginia. And he's laying this out there. Then he gets elected to attorney general and then runs for governor. And Skip and I even ran into some of his campaigners, stopped into the office earlier in the year. It's a good group of people, and Ken is a good guy. I'm sorry to say I think he's been hurt by Bob McDonnell and the scandals that have plagued, which is shocking because Bob McDonnell early on I had pretty high hopes for. That is hurting him. On the other side, you have Terry McAuliffe, the former head of the DNC, Clinton campaign manager, a bundler, a guy who is lock, stop, and barrel with these people, not because he's emotionally drawn to help people and what about the children and rainbows and puppy dogs, but rather a guy who is about his own bank account, wallet, and ego. That is Terry McAuliffe. This is a guy who pretends to be a Virginian, yet started a company outside of Virginia to build automobiles. The scandals about Terry McAuliffe are amazing. And yet, the latest polls still have him a couple of points ahead, depending on the one you look at. It could be a few more points. I don't know what to expect. Virginia, please.
Yeah, help us out here. That is going to be trouble for
I
you.
don't know if I could stand Terry McAuliffe, the governor of Virginia, for what this is. This is bad. I'm hoping. I'm hoping for some divine intervention today. 1 year from today, folks, it will be the midterm elections, and it is going to be a powerful election cycle with a lot of seats up. Remember, all of the House of Representatives and a third of the Senate is going to be up for re-election. What do you want that group to look like? Don't try to bite off more than you can chew and say, we've got to change all of these people. It's incrementalism. It's the little pieces of the puzzle. Do what you can, your little piece of the puzzle, that adds up to another piece of the puzzle that'll affect the grand scheme of things. You just need to target a couple of races. You just need to make sure that there are certain districts out there, certain states that you say, we can win that, we can get good people. And I'm not talking about Republicans winning. I'm talking about the right people. I'm talking about people who support 912 groups and 912 groups support and Tea Party groups. The people out there that say, you know what, I'm tired of screwing around. I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to act on it. Done. That's why it's so important. 1 year from today, you've got 12 months from today to do the job. You've still got time to get those people elected. 6-7 months from now, it's going to be probably too late. Right now, we still have a chance. Find those people and get them elected. Coming up next after a quick break, I'm going to tell you about Spears the Musical on this, The Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson on the Blaze Radio Network. Mercury.
This is the Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
Gail, I thought it when I said it. Gail tweeted at Doc Thompson Show. She put, what I learned today, Doc Thompson Show is a racist, is a white supremacist, says we should target races. I thought it when I said it. I'm like, I know somebody's going to say something. I mean, like races, like competitions in districts.
Oh, not like not an ethnicity.
Not an ethnicity, right.
Oh.
Of course, Gail, you know that the truth really doesn't matter for the progressives out there. But I thought it when I said it, Gail.
Yes. Also, with a Big Daddy, go ahead and chime in. Use that hashtag, what I learned today, get into the show closing. Big Daddy asks, people of Kansas break wind? Who knew? No, Big Daddy, that's not exactly
They are people of the wind.
The people of the wind, not breaking wind.
Or people of the south wind. They also say that, so that
or downwind for that matter.
I think it's more south wind is what they say. Whatever. Spears the Musical.
Spears.
They're working on it. They're looking to raise some capital now to produce Spears the Musical. What do you think that's a musical about? Skip, go. Careful.
Broccoli?
Broccoli? No, not Broccoli Spears. Go, Skip. Other possibilities. Spears the Musical.
I don't know. Maybe some sort of ancient hunting devices.
Britney Spears the Musical.
I like it.
Do you?
I do.
It's, of course, the music of Britney Spears, but it tells the story of Christ.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
The music, let me just say it this way. The story of Jesus Christ through the music of Britney Spears.
Yes, and real quick, let me pause here. When we say the music of Britney Spears, we do use the little air quotes when we say the music. You know.
Oh, Jesus.
No, it tells the story of Christ through her music, and according to the musical's website, the show will chronicle the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus using Britney's hits like Stronger.
Okay.
One More Time, Lucky, and Crazy.
Hit me, baby, one more time? Did Jesus say that when he was being flogged?
I can only imagine. Folks, I'm not joking.
I don't think that's the case.
I'm not making light of this. I'm telling you,
that's
this is
horrible.
What they're playing. Yes, it's horrible. See, it makes sense if you go that whole Mary Magdalene route.
Okay.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Judas, oops, I did it again.
I'll give you that. Then her music, may kind of fit more. Now, this is being developed by Patrick Blute. Not
to
Blute.
be confused with Blute.
Okay. Right. Patrick Blute. He's a 23-year-old Columbia University graduate.
And an alrapist.
He debuted the show April 2012 at the college and sold out. So now he wants to bring it to you and need some capital. And when he says of the musical, people being critical, he said, these are Britney's lyrics. These are Jesus Christ's images. The Britney Spears you see is not Britney Spears. Remember that.
He said the whole secret, Britney?
People don't know her. He said the Jesus Christ you read about is not Jesus Christ. These are manifestations. See, they're manifestations. He said accounts through the media, through the words of followers, of friends, of foes, of villains, of heroes, of liars, of biases. not Tobias's, biases. He said, it's a falsehood that people believe fame and fortune create happiness, that all deaths receive a resurrection. I hope this project will show you otherwise through the power of listening and the power of forgiveness.
And the power of Britney Spears.
I don't think I can forgive him for this. I really don't.
Well, here, I got to tell you, one thing I will give to him and one thing I'll give to his project, I sure am curious.
He said it's not sacrilegious and instead is the perfect outing for churchgoers who may also love Britney. He said it appeals to those from a religious background because it tells an essential story using fragments of pop culture in a non-offensive way.
It hit me, baby, one more time in a show about Christ and the resurrection.
He's calling it a Britney Spears and Jesus Christ mashup.
Oh, Lord.
Now, can I back up and tell you, he's 23, and he obviously loves Britney Spears. This is a male who's 23, who graduated from Columbia University, who loves Britney Spears, and is using it to tell the music of Christ. Skip, if there was one character trait, if there was one overall image, if I said, who do you think Patrick Blute is? Tell me what you think Patrick Blute. Tell me about him. What would you say?
Well, he's gay.
Yeah, okay, so we're in agreement here.
Is there any?
Okay.
He's a homo type. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm going to go ahead and say,
he's gay.
It's likely he's a homotype. That's my speculation.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson. Only on the Blaze Radio Network. Mercury. You're listening to the Blaze Radio Network.
Warning, the following program has been cited for its copious inclusion of the word freedom, and therefore has been deemed a concern. Listening may subject you to additional scrutiny by the IRS, DNC, TSA, NSA, PBS, IRS, NPS, RNC, GAO, DOJ, EPA, NASA, CIA.
This is the sound of common sense defending freedom. The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
We're coming to you live from the capital of Kansas, Topeka. This morning is part of our countdown to the midterm elections tour. The great folks at the Appliance Shop in Fair Lawn in Topeka have graciously allowed us to use their business to broadcast from this morning. Skip has been rifling through some of the products that they have here, and likely is going to take home
very
some parts
interesting
and supplies.
things. Yeah, I mean, really cool knobs and buttons and little boxes I've never seen before.
No, thanks so much to the Appliance Shop. If you want more information about where we're at, it's theapplianceshopinc.com, theapplianceshopinc.com. Last night we were at the Topeka Zoo and had the pleasure of meeting Chris Kobach. He's the Secretary of State for Kansas. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing well. Before we go any further, though, I have to ask you, how's your soul? How's your...
All is well with my soul.
All is well with your soul. Okay, good.
Well, I got to say, you answered that better than Nancy Mace.
Yeah, exactly. That's Glenn's go-to question.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's a specific answer that wins me a prize.
No, I don't know. I'm not sure how people are supposed to answer it. I'm not sure what Glenn's looking for, but I think you do fine.
All is well with my soul, and I'd like you to forward that to Glenn and see if that's the correct answer.
I will send it along and see. Although you've been on Glenn's show, right?
Yeah.
Tell the story about the, because you were on about the illegals that were at your house, right?
Yeah. The illegals and their community organizer comrades.
Explain what happened.
So this was Father's Day weekend, 2013, this past summer, and 4 busloads pull up to our driveway, and a group, three of the 4 buses from Wichita. That's about a 2.5-hour drive away, or actually a 3.5-hour drive away. And they pull up, they start pouring out. There appear to be a group of illegal aliens guided by community organizers, and they have signs, and they start chanting, and they have a bullhorn, and they go right up to the front door. They're on the front porch, on the driveway, the yard, shouting "Si se puede," and Chris Kobach, come on out. We'll show you what Kansans are all about. Basically opposing my long time activism against illegal immigration, and I helped draft Arizona's SB 1070, and I've represented cities and states in court. So I've been involved in opposing amnesty and trying to stop illegal immigration for a long time. And this crowd didn't like that, and so they had this big, protest. I would call it a intimidation effort in my yard, because I don't care if they protest from my office. They can do that anytime they want, and they have. But they were on our private property, and thank goodness my wife and I and my 4 little kids were all at my in-laws' house up in Nebraska. So we didn't see it, but it would have terrified my kids. And it's very strange. And eventually the police came, but one squad car pulls up, I'm told by my neighbors, and then the guy sits in his car, presumably because protocols don't allow one police officer to encounter a crowd of 200 people. And so he waits for reinforcements to arrive, and then at that point, the mob begins to disband. But, classic Saul Alinsky type tactics, intimidate a public official who's standing up for something other than what the mob wants.
I find I would be outraged if they come to my house for something like that, Chris. Like I said, I'll do battle with you. I'll debate you. I'm passionate about this stuff. You come to my house where my family is, and I didn't invite you on my property, that's going to be trouble for you.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, you go to public property, go to the public square, demonstrate in front of the Secretary of State's office in Topeka. They're welcome to do all of that, but don't cross the line and start trying to intimidate people on their private property.
Well, it was nice that they did their homework. That you weren't even home. I mean,
well, a holiday weekend. Go figure. Do you think some people might be traveling on that weekend? I don't know.
In fairness, though, be honest, how many times have you guys sent the Topeka 912 group out to protest at Kathleen Gilligan Sebelia's house? I know you've had all kinds of protests out in front of her house, banging on the defund. I mean, tell me, how many have you guys had?
Yeah, you can count them on exactly 0 fingers. And the great irony here is, which is so obvious to most of us, we've lost it. Is the irony is that we're constantly being told by Army recruiter briefings, and the latest we heard was October 23rd at Fort Hood. There was another pre-deployment briefing about how all these dangerous internal groups include the Tea Party, and the Tea Party, to my knowledge, has never gone to anyone's private property or attempted to intimidate any public official, other than by saying, "Hey, we're going to try to get you knocked out of office by campaigning against you." But the radical left is breaking the law and doing outrageous things. And by the way, I don't know if you guys have told your listeners yet, but one of the leaders, or one of the members, I should say, of that mob, we just learned a few weeks ago, is now an Obamacare navigator. So your tax dollars are now rewarding this kind of behavior.
Chris, there's just too much of that. These things are not coincidences. I'm sorry. When you've got people like that are now navigators, come on.
Yeah, I mean, you got to believe that, the administration reached out to certain groups to become navigators and try to hustle Americans to join Obamacare. And is it purely coincidence that the community organizers / agitators would suddenly find themselves on the list of navigators? Maybe, but I don't know.
Chris, before we get to a little bit more about you, I want to talk just a bit more about immigration too, because that's the next big issue. They're going to keep trying to work on the Obamacare thing and spin that, but immigration, that's on the front line right now, and they've not stopped it. They've been working behind the scenes. Why is this such a difficult concept for people to understand? You've got people going to your house, likely, that aren't even American citizens, and demanding that they have rights. You're not even an American citizen.
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous. I can't imagine any of my neighbors, or any other Americans for that matter, going to, Canada, and going there illegally, and then demanding that we be given legal status and eventual citizenship. It baffles the mind that there are politicians who will actually even say, yeah, that's a reasonable demand. It's outrageous. Our nation's sovereignty has, of course, been violated for decades now by lax enforcement. And I was part of the Bush administration the first 2 years under Attorney General John Ashcroft, when the Department of Justice had the INS. And that was back when we were enforcing the law and enforcing it vigorously. Right now, you've got the federal government, the Obama administration, unilaterally disarming, just ending worksite enforcement for the most part. ordering ICE agents to break the law and not deport people that federal law says must be placed into removal proceedings.
Well, they keep telling us how many more people they're deporting now, but those numbers aren't really accurate, are they?
Right. Yeah, it came out this past spring that all of the Obama administration's claims of, deporting record numbers, they were cooking the books. And what they were doing is they were counting Border Patrol apprehensions at the border, which is what's called a voluntary return. It's not called a deportation or a removal. That's like, I catch you coming across the border, I take your fingerprints, and I turn you around. That's not a deportation. You were never, fixed in the United States. You were never situated in the United States. Anyway, they started counting those whenever the Border Patrol catches them at the border and then puts them on a bus or a plane and moves them a couple hundred miles down the border on an ICE facility in an ICE vehicle, and then sends them across the border at a different place to kind of disorient the alien. They started counting those, which number in the tens of thousands, as removals to cook the books and inflate the numbers. Turns out the numbers have always been very low, and even using the Obama administration's own cooked method of accounting, internal numbers that were leaked last week show that there's been a 21% drop in fiscal year 2013 in deportations and a 19% drop before that. And part of the reason is the ICE agents, their hands are tied. There are very few illegal aliens that the directives of this administration will allow them to deport anymore.
Well, the states have had their hands tied for years, too, because we depend upon the federal government to take these illegals once we get them, and then they had that deal done where your local community could be given the authority to keep them for a while until the federal agents got, and then that all changed.
Yeah, and that's why I've been working with the states to restore the rule of law since 2000, well, it goes back to like 2006. And there is area within federal law where the states can act. And as long as the states are not conflicting with federal law, they can take certain steps. And one thing states can do is just deter illegal aliens from coming to or remaining in their jurisdiction in the first place. And that's what the Arizona SB 1070 law was all about. The central provision of it was sustained by the Supreme Court. A few less important provisions were struck down. And that's what Arizona's prior law that mandated E-Verify across the state is all about. States can still take action and must take action to deter illegal immigration, but it requires citizens calling up their state legislators and saying, hey, I want you to do something like what Alabama did or like what Arizona did.
It's funny, you talk to progressives, and they always say, and give Americans a bum rap. They say we go to different countries, and Americans are arrogant because we expect, foreigners in their country to speak our language and whatever. And I recognize that. So, when I've had the blessing to travel with my wife, we struggle to try to speak the language, and people have always been very nice to us. And that's fine. They're right. We are arrogant on that. But these same people don't criticize people that break into America and then want to change things that they have no power over. There's the disparity there. How come those same people that say I'm arrogant if I go to France and don't try to speak French have no problem changing our culture, our language, whatever, to people who aren't even citizens, Chris?
Well, you'll probably go to France and you'll probably show more respect for the French laws than many of the French rioters do. So I think I don't know if it's arrogant as much as we may not know foreign languages as well, but guess what? English is now the lingua franca of the modern world, and that's the language everybody wants to learn. And so we have a reasonable expectation when we travel that, there's probably going to be somebody who knows English. And, is that arrogant of us to just know that reality? I don't think so. But no, the hypocrisy of the left is very clear on this. Americans are always wrong in their eyes. And, the amazing thing is, when it comes to immigration law, we are about the most generous country on the planet. We take in more refugees than any other country in the world. Our laws give you so many breaks if you're here illegally, so many opportunities to get a hearing, to get an appeal, to get a waiver, and now in Obama's world, to get an illegal amnesty by executive fiat. We are an incredibly generous country when it comes to our immigration laws. If people want to see some really tough, draconian laws, maybe we should try adopting Mexico's laws and enforcing those the way they do. They're very, very strict.
Little different there. Little bit different.
Yeah.
That's if you make it securely across the border without the drug cartel shooting you. I'm speaking with Chris Kobach, Secretary of State of Kansas. Your resume is really impressive. You're a constitutional law professor?
Yeah, I was a law professor for about, 15 or 16 years before I became Secretary of State, and took a couple of years hiatus to work at the Justice Department under Ashcroft. But I in that time was teaching students inside a academic environment, virtually all of which are left-leaning these days, and teaching them the real meaning of the Constitution. And I remember I would teach about the 10th Amendment and about state sovereignty, and I just had this feeling that nobody really cared that much. I was teaching a doctrine that was slowly dying, and it was something that really bothered me. And now I find that we're actually at a crisis point in America, and there are many, many people who are standing up and saying, hey, what about the 10th Amendment? Hey, what about the states? And, it's a good feeling. I'm still very, very worried about the future of this country, but I do know that there are people who are saying that the answer lies in the republic of our framers, the founding fathers, who kept the sovereignty in the states. They did not give much power to the national government.
Chris, that's I love hearing somebody speak that passionately about it, and I think the key to a lot of our future has to be engaging people that are 14, 15, 16, well, even younger than that, and saying, listen, some of the stuff that you're hearing on the Daily Show, yeah, that's not really news, and that's not really the right way you should be thinking here. I'm hopeful that we're going to see more people able to connect with people that are younger, high school, college, and whatnot, and explain what things are really about.
I hope so. It becomes increasingly difficult as the knowledge of history and civics, gets smaller and smaller on average in the typical American high school graduate. We've got to keep alive the accurate history of the United States and the actual Constitution of the United States, not the imaginary one that the left is trying to get more and more judges to adopt. And that's going to take effort. We have to pass on down to the next generation the American creed, the American story. Otherwise, the left, along with the left-leaning teachers, are eventually going to make it really, really hard for us to sustain our ideals and our constitutional principles and the rule of law.
All right, Chris, it was great meeting you. I'm sure we'll cross paths again in the future, and I wish you the best of luck, okay?
You too. All the best. Take care.
All right. Chris Kobach, the Secretary of State for Kansas. If you're interested in more information, you want to go to chriskobach.com, and it's KRISKOBACH. Coming up in a couple minutes, I'm going to get to your calls, 888-900-3393, or tweet at Doc Thompson Show or at Skip Lacombe. We got some calls on hold. We're going to get to them. And then also, I'm going to tell you about Skip running for mayor. Mayor Skippy? Details in just a couple of minutes in the Morning Blaze.
Not a puppy, a ninja, a dancing bird, or an angry kitty. Just a talking doc. This is the Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson on the Blaze Radio Network.
Mercury.
This is the Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
I would say keep your eye on Chris Kobach. He's a guy who you're likely going to hear more from in the next few years.
Yeah, and if you learned anything throughout the program, go ahead and tweet at us. It's at Doc Thompson Show or at Skip Lacombe. Use that hashtag What I Learned Today. Gail's learned at Skip Lacombe ran for hashtag mayor of this giant king-size bed on Foursquare. That's not what Doc was talking about.
No, Mayor Skippy. Details coming up. But first I want to go to Georgia and get in Not a Lemming. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Hey there.
I know how to stop this amnesty thing.
How do you do it?
What's that?
If we go after our representatives and tell them, show us how you're going to register 11 million non-speaking aliens. Obamacare's been such a success. Are we going to use undocumented.gov? Come on, guys. Let us in on the big secret.
.gov.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, think about all of the disparity with ideas they put out there. Not a Lemming. You're right. They tell us that they can't possibly know everybody who's in America, yet they can watch all of our emails. They have that technology. They tell us that we've got food deserts and kids are starving, yet we have an obesity problem. They give us these mixed messages because their ideas are flawed.
Well, like I said, show me. Make me a believer. I want to see it. Make us the show me nation.
I am with you 100%.
I'm done with it.
That's a great way. Now, I mean, I'll tell you what, that might be the type of attitude we might have to have in the future instead of getting caught up in some of the other arguments, because often people look bad. You know, you've got the left; they're great at bringing out the race card. It's like the nuclear weapon; they just automatically win. They play that card. And what about the children and this other stuff? Ours may be show me, prove it, because they can't. We know that. Thanks so much for the call. We'll get some more coming up. And also, Mayor Skippy? Interesting.
You're listening to The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson
on the Blaze Radio Network. Mercury.
Radio Network. Headlines.
If you have or had one of these plans before the Affordable Care Act came into law, and you really liked that plan, what we said was you could keep it if it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
President Obama literally rewriting history. He injects the word if as he speaks to a crowd of 200 supporters in Washington, D.C.
If it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
The president literally altering what he's promised over and over again, that people can keep their plan.
If you like your health care plan, you can keep your health care plan.
Meanwhile, ABC's Jonathan Karl pressing White House Press Secretary Jay Carney on the absurdity of applying for Obamacare through paper applications. Listen to this.
I want to go back to exactly what the president said. He said you can bypass the website and apply by phone or in person, and then it can be done in 25 minutes. But these memos say that at the end of the day, we are all stuck in the same queue because they all have to go through the same portal.
John, I get it. But the person who calls isn't the one who continues to wait after the paper application is filled.
Your mocking is entertaining, but the president said that you could apply within 25 minutes. That was not true.
The work that you do, I think everybody else is looking quizzically because there's a reason to be quizzical here. You call up, you give your information, you get the questions answered that you need answered, and then they take over from there.
And AP reporting 3.5 million losing their health plans to date. Changing gears now to a terrible crime story gripping the nation. The Blaze Radio's Kay Long says a man is on a video call with his pregnant wife and witnesses her being brutally attacked.
Army Private Justin Poole deployed to Asia, watching in horror as his 9 months pregnant wife Rachel is stabbed over and over again. In custody, 19-year-old Corey Moss, also a soldier, acquainted with the Pooles, who say the attack was over a debt Moss owed them.
And I'm Robin Walensky. More with Doc Thompson in 2 minutes on the Blaze Radio Network.
The news you need from the Blaze Radio Network.
Doc Thompson. We're broadcasting live from Topeka, Kansas, on a part of our countdown to the midterm elections tour. This is stop number 2 tonight. We'll get in the car and we'll drive up the road to Omaha, Nebraska, where we'll speak with a huge crowd there and then broadcast the next morning, and we'll continue this pattern town to town all over America. We have the southern leg of our tour starting next week. All the details at DocThompson.com. Skip has joined me on this quest to make sure people know that we have 1 year to actively work hard to make sure good things are happening. Skip and I met 8 years ago, something like that. I got a job offer to program a station in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I started programming it, and I hired Skip to produce some shows. I wasn't on the air regularly at that point, and that's how Skip and I met. During that time, Skip was producing a couple of different shows there, and at one point ran for the mayor of Albuquerque.
This is actually completely legitimate.
The story you're about to hear is true.
100%. Yeah. So there was one of the shows we were producing on the weekend. It was a show with a lawyer in town named Jim Scarantino. Good guy. You guys would all very much appreciate the show that we did. We didn't like the current mayor very much. Mayor Marty Chavez. He is.
Who's that? Mayor Marty?
Mayor Marty Chavez. Martin Chavez. How would you describe Martin Chavez, Doc?
Dirtbag.
He is a dirtbag. Absolutely despicable human being.
Wait, did I only get one?
Liberal.
Set me up again.
How would you describe Mayor Martin Chavez?
Jackass.
Also very good. We would have also accepted Cocaine Addict.
Really? Did he have some issues with that?
I should say speculation.
Speculated.
Yeah, allegedly.
That part we're speculating.
I should clarify that is allegedly. Allegedly. Anyway, so we were doing the show, and we had came up with the idea that I would announce candidacy for mayor. Now, it started off as just kind of a radio bit, kind of jokey.
Well, because it highlights the current campaign, and you get to talk about their failures and what you would do and so on. So it's a bit of a bit. Yeah.
Indeed. So it started off, and what we didn't really anticipate is it started to kind of gain some fire. After I had announced on the air that I would indeed be running for mayor of Albuquerque, we got a lot of people calling in saying they wanted to support my campaign. So,
folks, do you realize how hurting
the city of Albuquerque was?
They're like,
my.
Wow,
this guy.
That shows you how bad Marty Chavez was with their
guy.
We need Skip.
He's got. Well, and my campaign slogan was, "What harm would it do?" At this point, look at the current administration. But people were saying, "Oh, you're inexperienced." I'm like, really? What harm would it do?
How could I screw up worse than these people? What harm would it do?
Look at where we're at in the city of Albuquerque. What harm would it do putting me in there? Wow. So it started gaining some fire on our show. We ended up launching a website. It was mayorskippy.com.
Right.
That's in reply to Martin Chavez's was mayormarty.com, which was.
So the mayor of Albuquerque, Martin Chavez, his website was Mayor Marty.
MayorMarty.com.
So nice.
Absolute dirtbag. Part of his website, his dog wrote a blog.
Wait a minute. Hold on. His dog. You're talking somebody unattractive that he was dating?
No.
His
pet.
Monica Lewinsky?
No, his pet dog. His dog wrote a blog on his website.
Hold it. I got a question.
Doc Thompson, Blaze.
Blaze Radio Network, Doc Thompson here in the corner.
You have a question?
I didn't think dogs could write.
They can't.
So how did he dog write a blog for him?
It was probably somebody with his campaign or him.
Oh, so they were lying.
Yes, so it
really wasn't his dog.
Yeah, so
we would have also accepted liar from him as well.
Indeed, and in fact, one day on the weekend show with Jim Scarantino, we did a little bit where we interviewed Dukes, Mayor Martin's dog.
His name is Dukes?
Dukes, because Albuquerque is the Duke City. A baseball team, AAA team, used to be the Albuquerque Dukes.
I see.
And so we interviewed Dukes and asked him questions. Why was he so?
Recognizing how stupid it is, it would be like this.
It did. I was asking questions, and let me ask you. So Dukes, thank you so much for joining the program today. So tell me, why is it that you support Mayor Martin Chavez?
Bark.
Basically.
So this was it. That's what you were doing.
We did an interview. Yeah. So we had somebody transcribing too and helping to translate, and it was saying basically that he didn't support the mayor very much, is what we found out, and that he was.
That's kind of fun, right?
The mayor wasn't very good to him, and he was actually going to be leaving the mayor's campaign and supporting my campaign.
Right.
Mayor Martin Chavez didn't like that very much because the next day on his blog, Dukes had a new blog up. And said, I wanted to go ahead and clarify some misinformation that had recently been put out there. I am not supporting Mayor Skippy's campaign. While we did go to the dog park and throw around the Frisbee, and folks, here's the most amazing part. Dukes' blog mentioned Mayor Skippy isn't registered to vote in Albuquerque and lives outside of the city limits, therefore is not eligible to run for mayor.
Hold it. There's a lot going on there. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So at the time, the mayor of Albuquerque running for re-election is so bothered by your radio bit,
a Saturday morning radio show,
that you say you're going to run for mayor and say that his dog isn't supporting him anymore.
Supporting my campaign now.
Supporting that they research you.
They look up my voter registration, determined that I actually live in the next county over, as I did. I did not live within the city limits, and was not just, but we're still friends. But yeah, sorry, Mayor Skippy, Skippy. Maybe next time. This guy, I am probably Mayor Martin Chavez's most hated person on the planet.
The fact that he reacted that way, it was a joke. I mean, don't you people know a joke? It's like the line from Young Dr. Frankenstein. Don't you people know a joke when you hear it?
Indeed. So at this point, my campaign is actually really starting to heat up, and I actually do a full hour on the afternoon show, too, with, absolute jammed lines. We were a new launch station, but we had the phones completely jammed for an entire hour. In fact, the afternoon host didn't even want to have me on because he thought it was ridiculous, was going to have me on for a couple of seconds and get me off. It was one of the more successful segments that he had the entire time, and they kept me with slammed calls for an hour. I had the young Republicans calling, supporting my campaign, the young Democrats asking where they could get bumper stickers, saying they wanted to knock on doors for me.
How do you have both of them wanting to support
I know! This is me, because I'm a libertarian.
Maybe that's what it was they thought they could do. Okay.
But, folks, so this really started to kind of gain some steam, but the coup de grace, the great moment, was when I got a call one Thursday afternoon from Jim, who we were calling my campaign manager. He was the host, and says, all right, Skip, here's the deal. It's about 4:45. At 6 o'clock, down the road from the studio, there's a mayoral debate. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, maybe I could go and get – I was like,
take
no,
some
dude,
notes.
You need to try to talk yourself in. I'm like, Jim.
How am I going to – yeah, they're not going to let me in the debate.
Come on. I think I'm 20, 21 at this point, maybe. He's like, no, dude, you just go over there, just try to talk your way in. So I'm like, all right. I barely had nice enough clothes. I think I actually borrowed a tie from one of my coworkers, and I make the 5-minute drive over to the mayoral debate that is being held by, I think, the women's Democrats of Albuquerque or whatever. And so I walk in there and walk up to the organizing table like I own the place and like I belong to be there. Says, hi, I'm Skip Lacombe. I'm here for the debate. And they're, I'm sorry, Skip. I'm an announced candidate for mayor, Skip Lacombe. I was on the radio this morning and announced, where should I go? Like, oh, we don't have you. You don't. We can't. I'm sorry.
You
no,
don't have room. You can't. Yeah.
I'm like, well, what do you mean? I see other people. Well, yeah, you haven't filled out your section 246 with the city yet. And at that time too, I was really up to date on the race because that's what I was doing. And I had noticed that there was another one of the candidates there who also had not filled out this Section C2 form yet had announced. And I said, well, I see that you have her sitting down there. She has announced that she wasn't going to fill that out until next week. So where should I go? They're like, yeah, I'm sorry, we can't. I said, hold on a second. Hold on. You're telling me that you're not going to allow the one announced candidate who happens to be a registered Republican into the debate? Well, no. I mean, I could walk across the street to Channel 7. I'm sure KO18 would love to hear about this. I got to tell you, folks, I'm a little. Well, now, hold on now. Give me a second. Let me go talk with. And so I stand there. I'm like, okay, they're gonna call the cops on me. They're gonna kick me out of this place. And so I'm waiting around. I'm checking my phone, and then they walk back up and say, Mr. Lacombe, please have a seat over here up front. And folks, I take part in the first sanctioned by City of Albuquerque mayoral debate, and this would have been in 2005.
So how many other people on stage?
There were 4 other people on stage. Unfortunately, the actual mayor was not able to make that event, but there were 4 other candidates there for mayor.
Did his dog make it?
His dog was not. I did not see Dukes there. He may have been in the back.
Okay.
I didn't see him.
So how did the debate work?
The debate went out fairly interesting. I was very nervous, completely unprepared, had no idea, walked in with no preparation. And so I thought I held my own. I thought I did a pretty good job. Again, I did not do probably the best as I could have. I wasn't well prepared. The amazing part at the end, though, is I went home that night kind of riding that high that I can't believe that I did that. I go and I'm doing some research for the show the next day. I go on some of the local Albuquerque blogs, and I find on the main Albuquerque blog at the time, Duke City Fix, they'd cover the debate. They ranked the candidates. Obviously I didn't win. I mean I had no idea, but I came in second.
So you talk your way into the debate, like 22, and come in second.
I did. Yeah, I came in second. The only person who beat me is Eric Griego, whose campaign I actually was supporting from outside. That's who I wanted to replace Mayor Chavez. Duke City Fix, the main blog, said I came in second and actually wrote a good couple of paragraphs about this new, amazing, interesting young candidate that we're just now learning about. And so
how's your relationship with Marty Chavez after that?
He does not like me at all. And so I actually ended up doing I was interviewed by Duke City Fix the following day, and that's when things started heating up from inside. We got calls from our lawyers and saying, hey, listen, you guys need to, I mean, if he's going to be doing this, he needs to be off the air
because there's laws about it.
Laws get involved. So I say, okay, we need to get a graceful way to bow out of this. I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to go and hold a press conference. I'm going to put together a press conference, and I'm going to go and announce my resignation from the race and that I would be supporting Eric Griego. And so I called Eric's campaign and asked if there's any way we'd be able to have him come out. I'm going to be bowing out, and I did want to go ahead and throw my support behind him. So, and of course, I mean, this guy was new as a radio bit. He's not going to. He comes and he shows up to the press conference, accepts my endorsement, and moves on.
So you had to bail out because of the legal stuff of being on the air or whatever, and you ended up getting. So, but you did well.
I did. I
mean, you
well.
came up short. But you did well.
Oh, dude, short a joke, really?
No, I mean you didn't do quite as well as you'd hoped. You came up a little short, but
lowest common denominator.
Did you? You said, why aren't you in this giant debate with me that night? Did you do that?
Dude, come on. What do you?
I do like your what harm would it do? What would have happened though?
What's that?
I would have been your Reverend Wright.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I would have been your Reverend.
Fortunately, at that point, you and I hadn't had too much time actually on the air. And I guess our off-air conversations weren't recorded as far as I know.
Folks, this is how stupid politics is. That Skip talks his way into it in a couple of minutes, gets on there, kicks their butt, or several of them who were, had credentials to be there and, or traditional credentials to be there. The mayor, the current mayor, who should have nothing to fear from him, actually goes after him, looks up his information, has his dog write a blog about him. This is the nonsense that's out there. I want you to remember that wherever you are, going to the polls today and 1 year from now as well. That's the nonsense that is politics, and we've allowed it to become this. I'm glad you mocked it. I'm glad you made a mockery of the whole thing, and we need more mocking of it.
That is one of my my more proud stories of my broadcast career.
Marty Chavez doesn't like you now, Mayor Marty?
Oh, man, and I worked later for the Heritage Talk Station, too, was always around the station, and I literally bumped into him in the halls a couple of times.
You mean literally, like ran into him?
I would turn the corner and would run, and we would bump each other. This man despises me. The look on his face when I ran into him and looked down, I mean, you would have... I swear, there are a few people in Albuquerque politics, Albuquerque media, that he hates more.
Are you still spending time with Dukes? Have you guys been throwing the Frisbee around or anything like that?
Yeah, I haven't heard from Dukes.
Hadn't in a while?
I haven't, no.
All right, we need a quick break in. This is The Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson. Mercury.
(888-900-3393).
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
All right, get to a couple of quick calls here. 888-900-3393. Up first is from Albuquerque. It's Duke.
Duke, you're on The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson. Duke! Oh, buddy, it's good to hear. How you doing? Oh, good. Oh, things are great, man. I've missed you, too. How are things in Albuquerque? I'm sorry, what? Mayor Martin, Chavez is doing what? He's not feeding you enough? You haven't gone out for a run for a while? Why are you peeing on the floor? He's not taking you out to... I'm gonna go ahead and call my friend who's still in Albuquerque, and he's gonna go ahead and get somebody over there to make sure you're good. Dude, it's good to hear from you, buddy. I miss you.
Thanks, Duke. Appreciate you calling in.
Thank you so much. All right, bye-bye. You too, buddy.
All right, let's go to, this is wonderful. Let's go to Pastor Willie Dove, Kansas State Rep. How are you, sir? Thanks for joining the Morning Blaze.
Good morning.
I'm sorry you had to follow Duke from Albuquerque.
Well, Duke sounds pretty excited.
I haven't heard from Duke in years. That's amazing.
It was so nice to meet you last night. Thanks so much for coming out to the event. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your contributions to Kansas?
I'm a state representative for the state of Kansas in the 38th district, and it's been an honor to be in the legislature. My gosh, get my words together. I think it's in my throat, and and serve the people of Kansas.
We told the story of Skippy running for mayor at one point in Albuquerque years ago, and it's just ridiculous that we get to a point where people play these silly games instead of me and you getting together, Mr. Dove, and saying, you know what, I want this person to represent me. They go, they serve for a while, and then they go back to their lives in honorable way. I mean, it's gotten pretty silly.
Well, yes, it does. It happens. But this is America. People do as they like, but sometimes what they like is not what they should do.
How do we get younger people involved more?
I think one of the things that is happening, Doc, is that young people are being dummied down to think that there's no need to get involved, and there's a great need for more young people to get involved in local government, especially when you go to the Board of Education. I mean, some people just don't want to get out there and put themselves or make themselves vulnerable. Well,
we also have with the kids too. I mean, you say, hey, politics, or you talk about the alternative minimum tax. This isn't on their mind. I think you have to present it in ways that say, listen, this is yours. This is the future. Here's how it's affecting you.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. But a lot of people just don't believe that they can make a difference. Imagine if Dr. Martin Luther King or Gandhi or a lot of individuals who you never hear of thought that they could not make a difference. Fathers are so very, very important, but yet again we downplay the part of fathers. So it's very, very important that men and women speak up to their sons and daughters and let them know that they can make a difference.
Are you optimistic about the future? Some people
Absolutely.
are not.
Absolutely. I see too many young, not too many, but enough individual young people that would like to do something, yet they don't know how to get it done. And what we like to do is go out and talk to those young people face to face on the street corner, wherever they are, in school, hopefully, and find out exactly what it is they would like to do. And some people are frightened at the point of thinking that to get involved in politics, whereas there's a young man by the name of Lauren in Kansas that was not afraid to come and speak up, and as a result of his testimony and speaking up in our committee, he was able to get a law on the books that helps protect young men and women in school.
That's great. So what we have here is we have young people. I mean, traditionally are full of piss and vinegar. They're ready to go. We just need to channel it. That's a great message. Talking with Kansas State Rep Willie Dove. Thank you so much for checking in with us. It was a wonderful pleasure to meet you last night. I wish you all the best, sir.
Thank you so much, Doc. You guys have a great time, and I'm looking to hear from that hound again.
Yeah, he'll be calling. He may join us down at Bobo's. We may take down Bobo's.
See you there.
All right. Willie Dove, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, sir. That's a great point. I hadn't thought about that way. You got people that are younger, college age, high school or whatever. They're ready to go. It's just we've got to channel them. And for decades, if you haven't had parents properly channeling them, what do you get? Look around. That's what you get. There is something big breaking as of yesterday out of the NFL. We're going to touch on that story, and I'm going to get your thoughts on it coming up next on this, The Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson. Only on the Blaze Radio Network. Mercury. You're listening to the Blaze Radio Network.
Warning, the following program has been cited for its copious inclusion of the word freedom, and therefore has been deemed a concern. Listening may subject you to additional scrutiny by the IRS, DNC, TSA, NSA, PBS, IRS, NPS, RNC, GAO, DOJ, EPA, NASA, CIA.
This is the sound of common sense defending freedom. The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
Coming to you live from the Sunflower State this morning. We are in Kansas, the capital of the state, Topeka. We're on our countdown to the midterm election tour. You can get details for that at DocThompson.com. We will leave here this morning after our broadcast and head up the road a few hours to Omaha, Nebraska, continuing to talk about how important this next year is going to be. 1 year from today, ladies and gentlemen, the midterm elections of 2014, which will give us a Congress, certainly members of the Senate, that are going to be around even for the next president for a few years. This next election is going to be powerful. And if we stay engaged, I know we can get some amazing things done. It's your power of being involved, those little things you've done that have made possible us to get information about the scandal, holding the president's feet to the fire about you can keep your health care when it turns out you can't. We all knew it. It's because of your involvement. If we stay involved, there are good things coming. 1 year from today, we've got to make that big push over the next year. And that's the reason Skip and I are going town to town. We're going to share some of your stories. If you are anywhere near one of our stops, please come. Just go to DocThompson.com. We had a great turnout yesterday, the day before yesterday in Oklahoma City. A great turnout last night here in Topeka. And thanks so much to the great people for welcoming us. Just go to DocThompson.com.
Also, you can tweet at the show, get into the show close, use that hashtag #WhatILearnedToday. Mike's already learned a vote for @SkipLacombe is a vote to stop the ice cream truck insanity. Hashtag the day the music died.
You know what? I hadn't thought about that,
dude,
but you're right. As
the
mayor,
I swear to you, that would be part of my platform. If that was the case, I would outlaw ice cream truck.
You know, you'd really get that old man vote. You're damn people playing that loud rock and/or music. How dare you? You'd be big with the old vote.
Too, we were talking a little bit about my history with Mayor Martin Chavez and his dislike for me, and Aiden speculated that it was my abnormal height that scared him.
Oh, he thought.
I suppose that's possible.
Could have something to do with it. Interesting. Well, tweet at Doc Thompson Show or at Skip Lacombe. Tell us what you've learned today. Use the hashtag #WhatILearnedToday. So some story came out over the last couple of days. It's I think going to turn into a pretty significant scandal in the NFL, and probably unnecessarily. This is out of Miami. There's a tackle for the Miami Dolphins, Jonathan Martin, who has said that he has been subjected to all kinds of stuff and is in so much stress, subjected to by his fellow teammates, that he had to leave the team and go to the hospital last week when he couldn't deal with it anymore. And that now he is undergoing therapy in California for what the media is calling bullying. Now, I don't know if Jonathan Martin has called it bullying.
In fairness, yeah, that is important to note.
Right. He may have. He may not have. I mean, he may have just said, hey, I'm being harassed or something's going wrong. But that word is really, really important in this story. What he's saying is that that he was being treated wrongly by Richie Incognito.
I'm sorry, what's the guy's name? Is that
Richie Incognito?
It's like an Archie comic or something?
I was unfamiliar with him, but that makes sense because his name is Incognito.
Oh, because you thought he kind of stays under the radar.
Under the radar
okay,
screen.
No,
I'm not that familiar with him.
I see what you did there, yeah.
But apparently he has a history of being one of the rougher players in the NFL. He has a reputation as a dirty player. During his first 4 years in the league, he led the league in penalties for unnecessary roughness. The St. Louis Rams got fed up with him and being undisciplined, released him during the 2009 season. He eventually ended up in Miami. Tony Dungy said on a talk show just yesterday that the Colts had him on their DNDC draft list, do not draft due to character list. They said that they just did not appreciate his character, and they were looking for better players than that. So likely this guy is not a good guy.
About problem player, you know.
Problem player.
One of these cancers in a locker room people always talk about.
Right, and Skip and I want to get both sides of the story. We want to hear Jonathan Martin's. We want to hear Richie Incognito's. These are allegations. They have not been proven for us. But it does look like, based on the fact that he's not the nice player, that he's aggressive and assertive, and he's on tape. We've seen him in some documentaries and stuff being pretty...
Breaking rule number one.
Yeah, being a jerk, being a goof.
Hazing players, if you will.
Right.
He'd taken one of the other players' iPads, one of the rookies' iPads, and updated his Facebook status with something like, I just pooped my pants or something.
Yeah, stupid
just
stuff.
Being silly stuff.
So, okay, that wouldn't surprise me. We need more information. But there are some parts of the story that automatically I just have to go off on. The fact that people are referring to this as bullying. Bullying? Jonathan Martin says that Richie Incognito was using racial slurs to describe him and sending him threatening text messages. One of them allegedly called him a half N-word piece of expletive. And also threatening harm. Now, Skip, would you consider that bullying? Is there, or
No.
is that the best descriptor?
No, I wouldn't.
Is there
bullying.
something better you'd call?
I mean, if you're using like racial slurs and threatening to harm to some, that's assault.
Yeah, you're right.
You're being assaulted. He's committing a felony. Saying he's going to harm you, saying he's going to kill you. You're not being bullied. You call the cops. You're being assaulted.
So why is this being reported as bullying in the media? Last night, ABC News, Diane Sawyer led with this story. And folks, this is very, very important in this discussion. More details about this are going to emerge in the coming weeks, and it's going to be a significant story. More details are going to come out. I wouldn't doubt that Richie Incognito's career might be over. You're going to hear a lot more about this. But at this point, number one, is that your lead story when the Obamacare website is tanking? When President Obama comes out yesterday and says, I said you could keep your health insurance if. That is the story that's out there.
Why is
Period. Remember something. They sold Obamacare to us as, if we don't do this, it's the end of the world. Do you remember the urgency that we had?
It has to be done.
And now, years later, when it's tanking and the president outright lied, that isn't worthy of the lead story when your lead story is some players, workplace, forget for a minute it's the NFL, are having a dispute. Whether it's work, whether it's the NFL, it was somebody threatening somebody. It was assault. You take it to the police. Did ABC News lead about somebody in Walla Walla, Washington over the past couple of weeks assaulting somebody? No.
Some domestic dispute where a man calls his wife and says, if you don't do this, I'm going to come home and strangle you?
They led with the story for a couple of reasons. Well, you know the ultimate reason. The ultimate reason is their propaganda. They led with it specifically using words like bully and then mentioning the race angle. This continues their narrative of bullying in America and American schools. These are grown-ass men. These are not kids in school who can not make decisions for themselves because they're minors, that are forced to go to school. These are people who are working in a chosen profession, who as adults have the ability, the authority, and should have the knowledge to say, if I don't like something, I'm going to go to the police. If I'm being assaulted, I'm going to go to the police. This is not bullying. As Skip said rightly, this is assault. This is the biggest issue. Forget for a moment all of the stuff that's going to come out. The shock that an NFL player would do something like this. Another NFL player freaking out and going to get therapy for it. Yeah, those are interesting, but that's not the story here. The story is already the reporting of it, the bullying. Folks, we have become such pusses. We call all kinds of stuff bullying that's not. We call kids teasing each other in school bullying. Rightfully, if a kid is being assaulted or battered in school, yes, it has to stop. You don't want your kid going through that. I don't want my kid going through it. You're not teaching your kid proper values. But there is a big difference between kids teasing one another and assault. Huge difference. Teasing is good, and it's good for kids to have to work out their problems. It's good for them to be in some of those situations to realize slowly, with your guidance and help and ultimate protection, that the world is an unkind place often. It is unfair. Otherwise, you create entire generations of pusses who get a trophy for just showing up, and when they end up graduating high school or college and go out into the world, are like deer in the headlights because they cannot function. They're stunned to find out that people don't think they're this perfect little snowflake, this little angel. We're creating monsters. Why do you think there's so much drug use? Because these kids cannot deal with the pressures of everyday life. We had people that climbed mountains, that fought to their death, hand-to-hand combat in wars throughout American history. People who conquered and achieved at great sacrifice. Do you think they would have been able to do that if their whole life people told them they were perfect, without flaws? They got a trophy for showing up, and they were this perfect little angel or snowflake? Do you think the greatest generation could have fought 2 wars, a war on 2 fronts, and been victorious if all their life they had gotten an award for showing up? Here you go, soldiers. Welcome to World War II. Here's your trophy for just showing up.
Yeah, they don't pin a ribbon on you after a basic training. Hey, congratulations, you're in the military now.
Wonderful. No. We're creating the wrong people, and this is more the propaganda. Second of all, the race angle with this whole thing. Okay, maybe call them that stuff, fine. But they're going to go ahead and fan this because it sells commercials on ABC News. We need to call people out for this. Listen, if Richie Incognito was harassing somebody, you're a jerk. You violated clearly rule number 1 and possibly a few others. Number 2, if you were assaulting somebody, then Jonathan Martin needs to press charges.
Be arrested, yeah.
Press charges, have him arrested, and it's really none of our business. It's not the NFL's business other than it happened on their time. This doesn't have to be a worldwide cleaning house of the NFL and a bunch of more seminars. You've got the NFL. They're wearing pink shoes for Pete's sake. They're wearing pink shoes for breast cancer awareness. They have watered that down. You know what the NFL is supposed to be? It's supposed to be hard-hitting. I'm just so annoyed by all of this nonsense.
I mean, we had the story out of Plano, Texas, a couple of weeks ago about the young lady, the mentally challenged woman who was getting horrible text messages about, oh, you're evil, you're an abomination, your mom should have aborted you. That's horrible.
That's the one who killed herself, right?
No, she didn't kill herself. She
Okay.
was she's the one that was on Glenn's show.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Horrible. That's bullying, and that's reprehensible, and that's parenting. You need to get on your kids. But when one NFL player says to another NFL player, "I don't like you, N-word, I'm going to kill you," that's not bullying. And the vocabulary and all this is so important. You didn't see Diane Sawyer come out with the lead story about bullying when it's a mentally challenged girl in Plano, Texas.
Wow.
But when it's an NFL player in Miami, it's bullying because he says he's going to kill you? No. That's assault, and you got to get your vocabulary right. And Diane Sawyer and ABC News should be ashamed of themselves for that.
Think about this. Where is ABC News? Where is ABC News when multiple times a week in America somebody is killed at the hands of an illegal? Immigration is a huge topic in America. Illegals are responsible for killing Americans all the time.
We have the Remembrance Project, who's
Project.
specifically out there to highlight these stories.
Even whether it's drunk driving or just vicious attacks on Americans. They talking about that? But they're going to talk about an NFL play. I mean, the other thing is, you're in the damn NFL. You can't stand up for yourself. Do you see how big Jonathan Martin is? And he's going to therapy now? I'm not saying what he went through was pleasant, if it's true. It's probably pretty awful. But you're going to therapy and you can't deal with it. You know why? Because likely he was the kid that got the ribbon for showing up. All right, I got to get a break, and we're going to get some of your calls in. 888-900-3393. 888-900-3393. This is The Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson. Mercury. Instead of punching a total stranger this morning, punch these numbers into your phone. 888-900-3393. The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
You know, I didn't want to highlight any more of your failures, Skip. I was trying to be respectful of the rules and not be a jerk. I wasn't going to highlight your massive failures.
I knew the second it was coming out of my mouth.
And I just let it slide, and the listeners are going to we
had Jack chime in talking about those. Actually, the Army gives you 3 ribbons for getting through
there
basic.
It is.
The ASR, the GWOTER, and the NDM. Like I said, right as I was saying that, I'm like, you know what, I bet you get several, actually.
You get ribbons for a lot of different campaigns you're involved in and stuff like that.
My sentiment still stands.
There,
completing basic training is worthy of those.
No, it's you don't get a trophy though for saying, hey, welcome to World War II. Here's your trophy, and now you don't have to do anything. I mean, you're expected to do a job. It's not, hey, everybody gets the participation trophy. Hey, thanks for it. You're out there doing a job. These people had to sacrifice, and that's what's missing right now. We had some other tweets, at Doc Thompson Show and at Skip Lacombe. Use the hashtag What I Learned Today. We'll include them at the end of the program if deemed worthy.
Yeah, we had a Liberty Mom chiming in with What I Learned Today. How does a 300-pound tackle get bullied? Hashtag head scratch.
Well, and we had a couple people say, hey, get more information on Richie Incognito. Folks, hang on a second. I've read a couple of the articles, and I've seen some of the things Dan Patrick's talked about, and some of the other some ESPN guys have mentioned as well. And here's the thing. I'm not saying Richie Incognito's a good guy. I don't know. I'll take your word. Horrible. And what he did, awful. If I went through that, my wife went through it, or Skip or somebody, I wouldn't stand for that nonsense. And I'm not saying it wasn't horrible for Jonathan Martin. If it was true, of course. And yes, you could be really affected by it. But why did you, as a grown man, that big, strong, whatever, why did you let it get that far? You have recourse. You should have done something. You could have called the police, for Pete's sake, number one. You could go to your union, number two. But the biggest part of this story, folks, is the fact that they're calling it bullying. It's not bullying. And I'm not making a big deal out of something small. This is important. Words matter. This is the crafting of certain images in order to control us and to brainwash us. It's propaganda when the media leads with a silly story that is not nearly worthy of being a lead and then calls it bullying, getting it wrong. That is part of the media propaganda trying to brainwash successfully in many cases.
You're listening to The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson
on the Blaze Radio Network. Mercury.
Radio Network. Headlines.
If it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
Obama alters his original presidential promise by adding the word if. He speaks to a group of 200 supporters in Washington, D.C. last night and incredibly rewrites history.
If you have or had one of these plans before the Affordable Care Act came into law, and you really liked that plan, what we said was you could keep it if it hasn't changed since the law's passed.
Now here's what the president has said previously over and over again.
If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor.
And while signing up for Obamacare is still a complete disaster this morning, the White House turning its attention elsewhere. The president will be talking with business leaders to get immigration reform going today. Wednesday, the president on the road in Dallas. And Friday, he's in New Orleans, scheduled to talk about the economy and jobs. It's Election Day. The Blaze Radio's Chris Barnes with a preview from Washington, D.C.
New Jersey Republican Governor Chris Christie looks to be cruising to a re-election landslide over Democratic State Senator Barbara Buono. Buono's been predicting that Christie will run for the White House in 2016, while she says she's focused only on governing the Garden State, but her campaign's never really gained traction. In the battleground state of Virginia, polls for weeks show Democrat Terry McAuliffe, a former Democratic National Committee chairman, leading conservative Republican Ken Cuccinelli, who gained national fame as the first state attorney general to litigate against Obamacare.
And talk about a Halloween costume in bad taste. A woman in Michigan fired after she dresses up as a victim of the terrorist marathon bombing in Boston. Here's the Blaze Radio's John DeMaster with the story.
Alicia Ann Lynch tweeting a photo of herself smiling, wearing running gear with fake blood and bruises on her face, arms, and legs. The reactions on Twitter uglier than most Halloween costumes. Lynch heading back to Twitter to apologize, begging people to stop threatening her, announcing she's fired from her job for her post.
And I'm Robert Walensky. More with Doc Thompson in 2 minutes on the Blaze Radio Network.
from the Blaze Radio Network.
Doc Thompson.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson. 888-900-3393.
What are you laughing at?
John Bauer just tweeted at us, Doc will recognize Skip's shortcomings when needed. Hashtag no free ribbons at Santa's Workshop.
Exactly.
That's really nice.
Did we talk about Santa's Workshop?
No, it's me being a short joke, I guess. I don't know. It's just
oh, like an elf
yeah,
thing.
See, it's an elf thing.
Oh, so he's calling you an elf,
Just
like because you're really tiny.
Garrett also tweeted, if you're 300...
Have you ever made toys?
Shut up!
You ever put together one of those model airplanes? Have you ever put together a model airplane?
Garrett just tweeted
So you're a
us,
toy maker. Is that what you're telling me?
if you're a 300-pound NFL player and you cry to your mommy because you're being bullied, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, you really are.
I've always been curious, are those pointy shoes comfortable?
Yeah, are those your... in fact, I'll bet people can see when we're on the TV, he does have shoes that come up to kind of a point there.
You guys are asses.
Am I wrong about that? See, he does.
You bastard.
What? I'm just saying, Cal, that's a great observation.
Do people always know when you're coming because bells jingle?
Little bells,
on your,
yeah. That's really funny. That's original, Cal.
You ever put Legos together?
It's real original. No.
So you've put toy maker kind
no,
of sort
never,
of.
not once. I've never assembled any sort of.
Do you
toy.
whistle while you work?
Well, you guys are both in like several rule violations. There.
Violation there, okay.
At least 1 and 2,
folks.
we can 5.
Yeah, we cannot continue to tell everybody everything is okay and everything is fine and you don't actually have to deal with any pain. We're not preparing people for what they need to be prepared for. It's like the antibacterial soaps. Everyone sterilizes everything in their house. Well, no one wants to get sick, but you recognize, of course, exposure to some germs is a good thing. It's how you build up immunities to. Right, you have to have it. That's how your body builds up immunities to those and other germs. It's like exercising. If you don't use a muscle, then you can use it less. You have to fight and struggle with this stuff. And the same thing is true with your kids in school, with freedom, with all of this. It has to be unpleasant at times. We're meant to work and exercise and do. And this is what I see when I hear them say that an NFL player is being bullied, and that's being put upon, reported like that on TV. We have lost. You've done. You've screwed up. Bullied an NFL player. If it's assault, report it to the police. Bullied? It's not going to be good for us in the future. I mean, Jessica Wright, she is the acting Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness. You're going to let her get away with that title, Skip?
Give that to me again.
She is the acting...
That's my favorite part.
Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness.
For personnel and under...
Right.
I need that one more time. I'm sorry.
Jessica L. Wright is the acting Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness.
Undersecretary of Defense for...
She's not the assistant.
Holy
acting
crap.
Undersecretary.
Dude, that one is like making blood shoot out of my eyes.
Wait a minute. At Deputy PD, you know, we had that guy who is the assistant to the program director who's changed his name to Deputy Program Director because he thought it sounded cool. Is he the acting deputy?
He's the acting Undersecretary to the Program Director.
Okay, but it's just acting, right?
Yes.
So there's a possibility that he wouldn't be acting on it soon.
We could also say interim.
Yeah, because that's what that implies. He's not. Well, I mean, it's not a done deal.
And it's possible the interim title can be lifted at some point, but
I like that. That's
acting Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel
and Readiness. I mean, what isn't included?
I know, what do you do?
But what isn't included in personnel and readiness?
Deputy?
Equipment?
Oh, okay.
Equipment?
That's true.
I mean, readiness. Well, that kind of touches equipment too. Okay, you're the acting undersecretary for everything.
For ready. Make sure we're ready. That would be kind
everything.
of all encompassing, don't you?
Last week, she said that the Department of Defense must maintain its commitment to diversity and inclusion, which contributes to mission success.
Diversity and inclusion contributes to mission success?
Yes. Folks, the acting Undersecretary for Defense and Personnel and Readiness said that what makes a mission successful, or at least contributes to it, is diversity.
That is BS.
And inclusion.
That is total BS.
It's contributing to mission success. She said that diversity helps civilian and military personnel perform well because they, quote, represent the nation in our workforce.
Are you sure that's the full quote?
What do you mean?
I feel like you say, diversity can contribute to a mission's success. I mean, maybe that word was left out when you copied it? Is that possible?
No, it didn't get omitted.
Because, that would make some sense, but saying that...
Here's the thing.
Diversity.
I mean, can it? Sure. Lots of things could or can or maybe.
Feeding bacon contributes to a mission's success. You give your employees bacon?
No, exactly. But the fact that she leads with that she makes it that important shows it's about the agenda. It's about really trying to say something else. So the Department of Defense not only talks about diversity in terms of race and gender and ethnicity, but it's more important, much more than that in my mind, she said. She declared that diversity included your thought process, how you grew up, and what you can add to the greater good because of your background. What? Folks, next week we will celebrate, and I believe it's Sunday, the Marine Corps birthday. The day after that, we will or should recognize Veterans Day. That would be a week from yesterday. I did not serve, as I am soft. But hearing my father's tales of going through Parris Island and serving in the United States Marine Corps, I can only imagine if at that time you would have floated lines like this, you would have had your ass kicked. If you had floated out...
Are you kidding? That's not even a debate.
See, your thought process, how you grew up, and what you can add to the greater good because of your background, because of diversity and inclusion, your gender and ethnicity. We are so caught up in this nonsense, and it just doesn't matter. There's a inclusion and diversity event being hosted by the German Marshall Fund of the United States. I don't know what any of this is.
Yeah, we've developed it, just delved into Beard and Spock show.
I don't even know what it is, and I was so thrown off by everything else she said, I just kind of blew it off. There's a webpage for an event called Mission Critical Transatlantic Security and Diversity. This is her report. Mission Critical, Transatlantic Security and Diversity.
So are they just adding diversity to all of their programs now, just to make it
throw it in there?
So when she's like tweeting in the afternoon, "Hey, I'm going to go to the congressional lunchroom for a ham sandwich and diversity."
I think this is the Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson
and diversity.
I like that. Just throw it out there.
I'm not saying. It sounds like they're including that in everything now.
That's a really good point. How you can apply that to Operation Overlord and diversity. Do you remember D-Day and diversity? Maybe that's what the D actually stood for, and we didn't know it these many years.
So I'm going to go and talk to our webpage guy, too, and get the site changed to Countdown to the Midterm Elections.
And diversity. That's a good point. We should start branding it that way. In her webpage event, Mission Critical Transatlantic Security and Diversity, it's declared it is a security imperative. This is a quote, "It is a security imperative for military leaders to proactively advance diversity and inclusion," or D&I.
You are kidding me!
Mission
imperative?
Mission imperative. Because of rapid demographic change and advances in gender and LGBT equality in new generations of veterans in NATO countries. Folks, do you know why they used to shave and started the practice of shaving heads in the military?
Why is that, Doc?
Because they wanted people to be uniform. That's the reason you wear a uniform, too. To be uniform, you are one. You are a unit. You are a group. You don't become a group by pretending things don't exist. You don't pretend your differences aren't there. You recognize your differences and then knock it off. You recognize your differences as strengths and not weaknesses, and you become one unit. So people that have served in the military understand this probably better than I. That when you're in that foxhole, when you're marching through a swamp, when you're in training to prepare for those things, that guy is not your black friend or a white soldier or a Latino American. He's the guy that's helping you. You're the guy who's helping him. This stuff is not adding to it. It's hurting it more. They're actually doing the exact opposite. By talking about this nonsense, they're saying, no, you're the white Marine, and you're the Latino Marine, and you're the fabulous Marine. That's what they're saying instead of saying soldier, Marine, airman, seaman. It's not the white seaman. It's not the black seaman. It's not the Latino airman. It's not the Asian soldier. You're the soldier. You're the seaman. You're the airman. You're the Marine. Period. I'm not the one who's doing it. The military was fine with that stuff. They had it right. Bringing this up isn't promoting diversity and inclusion. It's telling people you're divided. It's saying you're a Marine, but you're a black Marine, and you're...
Imagine what would happen if some of these, say, drill instructors all of a sudden were having to go ahead and use language like this and had to go ahead and spout the diversity type language too, like, Tin Hut, you all need to be respected. Come on around here now. You're the black Marine. You're the black Marine. Get your coverage on a bed check. Imagine some of the language of some of the quotes that she had to say if the actual Marines were having to spout that for their bed checks and drill sergeants.
They may be. They may actually be. 888-900-3393 is the number, or tweet at Doc Thompson Show or at Skip Lacombe. Tell us what you learned today and use that hashtag, What I Learned Today. One more thing before we go. Chicago, the city of Chicago is hemorrhaging money, folks. You're aware of the crime in Chicago, all of the problems, but Chicago...
Is it still bad there?
Well, yeah, but they have a staggering $369 million operating deficit for next year. Their deficit is $369 million. By 2015, that $369 million deficit will become $1 billion.
Damn.
Rahm Emanuel, the mayor, is fighting hard to come up with ways to take care of this deficit, and he's scraped together $1 million for a festival in 2014.
What kind of festival is this, Doc?
Well, they've partnered up with a group called the Red Moon Theater Company, and they're planning to set boats on fire in the Chicago River. They've got a $360 million deficit, $1 billion deficit by a year from now, and they've managed to come up with $1 million for an event that will set boats on fire in the Chicago River.
Is this some sort of like Viking celebration?
It will commemorate the Great Chicago Fire of 1871.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
Now, to give you a little background, in 2009, the former mayor, Richard Daley, actually cut a festival. It was the annual parade of illuminated boats. It cost $300,000 a year, and they said we can't afford it anymore. But Rahm Emanuel has come up with 3 times that amount for what? For a festival that will light boats on fire in the Chicago River. City Hall announced that several new taxes and fees will be placed on residents to offset some other city services like movies in the park. So they're making people pay for those, which they shouldn't have anyways if you're $1 billion in the hole. If you're
having the events at all.
Right. But they can still scrape up money to light boats on fire.
Jeez.
You know, if you really want to commemorate the Chicago fire and deal with some of the other issues, you know how you could do that?
How's that?
You pull out Mrs. O'Leary's cow. You find that cow, and you start another fire. Not on boats out in the river. You burn the city down. That's what you need.
I think another reason Rahm Emanuel may have tried to go ahead and do this celebration is kind of competing with all the fires in Detroit. You know, you see that.
They're in competition with other cities.
I mean, they're fighting neck and neck for most dangerous city, most fire-ridden city, most dirtbag-ridden city, most liberal city.
How is lighting boats on fire in a river, how is that part of a festival? And how would you celebrate the Great Chicago Fire? You know,
why are you celebrating the Great Chicago Fire?
Can you imagine 100 years from now, 150 years from now, when we celebrate the Great 9/11?
I mean, we don't have...
Let's fly some planes into buildings to honor 9/11. It was a disaster. Yeah, I think they're really thrown off by the word great. You know, great doesn't just mean wonderful, a good thing. Great can also mean sensational or big.
I mean, in fairness, next week, Hurricane Katrina Appreciation Week.
The Great Hurricane Katrina Appreciation Week. This is the Morning Blaze.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson. Streaming stimulation that is safe for work. Only on the Blaze Radio Network. Mercury.
You're listening to The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
All righty, that is it, ladies and gentlemen, the end of the Doc Thompson Show. But before we go, as always, let's find out what we learned today. We learned that only a powerful campaigner can win the support of their opponent's dog.
That is true.
We learned the answer to 4 across in the New York Times crossword puzzle is lied. We learned Britney Spears' life in music is perfect to tell the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. We learned Skip makes many mistakes that I overlook, but the listeners just cannot accept them.
What do you...
And finally, we learned that the Great Chicago Fire wasn't all that great.
Yeah, you're
doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Skip Lacombe, producer, what, if anything, did you learn today?
I learned what a period at the end of a sentence means.
What's that?
It's a end of a sentence.
Oh, I see.
So we learned you can keep your insurance depending on what your definition of keep is. We learned 2 Matthew 4:23 says, and the Lord Jesus replied to his Roman captors, hit me, baby, one more time.
He did not. Britney Spears is a goof, and the people want to make a musical out of this is a goof, too.
Exactly. We learned at Marty Chavez, yes, that's at Marty, Chavez, is a tool.
Yeah.
We learned Marty Chavez was as scared of a 20-year-old Skip Lacombe as Marco Rubio is of a 40-year-old Doc Thompson.
I'm sorry I brought him up, because you're just not getting over this now.
And finally, we learned next week is Hurricane Katrina Appreciation Week.
All right, Cal, spinning the dials radio style in New York City this morning. What, if anything, did you learn today?
I learned the president needs punctuation lessons.
Yes,
because period doesn't mean semicolon. But I will follow his example of ending my every sentence with period that negates everything I just said.
Yes.
So to my wife, I will never eat donuts again, period.
Period.
I also learned that coming this fall on the National Geographic Channel, Mayor Skippy, the dog whisperer.
I like it. So you got to be the lead pack dog. Is the whole
Alpha dog.
Alpha dog. That's where it is. If I could have gotten
pack leader.
Funnier.
All right, Skip Lacombe, what, if anything, did Rick answer the phones learn this morning?
Rick learned the only acceptable sentence followed by Obama's period includes the words life in prison.
Oh, that's nice.
He also learned that he applauds Mrs. Spears for choosing the biblical path over Pornish endeavors, period. And finally, he learned Mayor Skippy Lacombe bullies dogs. That's not true. Me and Dukes had a great relationship.
They're good times together. All right, Skip Lacombe, what, if anything, the listeners learned today?
Brian learned it was merely a glitch in the teleprompter that caused President Obama to misspeak.
Oh, that's what it was.
Kimberly learned period is a precursor to a lie.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly no problem.
That's also good. Bud learned Doc, like the press, likes to mandate the rules but not live under them. # don't be a jerk. That's a good point, Bud. Thank you for pointing that out.
Remember rule number 2. And by the way, by sending us that, I think you violated rule 1 and 2.
Ethan learned Rand Paul forgets a quote. Yes. Ethan learned Rand Paul forgets a quotation mark. It's plagiarism. Obama lies. It's misspeaking.
Nice.
Very
Give
good.
me that again.
Rand Paul forgets a quotation mark. It's plagiarism. Obama lies, and it's misspeaking.
Yes.
Cynthia learned the president will never say the following: if I'm lying, may God strike me dead. Johnny learned, oops, I did it again. I saved you from sin. Got stuck on the cross. Oh, baby, baby. That's bad.
Yeah, don't do that.
Spears Jesus born in a trailer park in Bethlehem, swaddled in Def Leppard beach towels, sleeping in a 100-quart cooler.
We're mocking Brittany and the people who think she's holy.
Commando learned my child's kindergarten class scheduled joy of homosexuality on the same day as pedophile show and tell day. Wow. Justin learned Skip isn't short, he's fun-sized. Let's see. Adele learned diversity leads to success. Tell that to the NBA. And finally, It's a Republic learned diversity, it's segregation in politically correct terms, a.k.a. racism light.
All right, we're heading up the road as soon as we get off the air to Omaha. Check out the next tour stops at DocThompson.com. You can get podcasts of this program at theblaze.com/Doc Thompson. Thanks so much to the Appliance Shop, Inc., Fair Lawn in Topeka for allowing us to use their facility this morning, and thanks to you for listening and the great people of Kansas. On to Nebraska now. Remember, the Doc Thompson Show is a Skip Lacombe production. Sic Semper Tyrannis. Good night, Steve Cannon. Wherever you are. On Young. Now, you go home. Mayor Skippy.
Oh. At Martin Chavez. Marty Chavez.
Okay.
The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson.
Only on the Blaze Radio Network.
Mercury